My name is Paul Shelley, and welcome to The AstroHistorian. This is a series where I talk about all things sci-fi and space lore. In this episode, we're going to break down everything we know about the United Colonies, the largest faction in the Starfield universe. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that because of how little information we have thus far on Starfield, I'm going to speculate on some of this information, but I will do my best to separate what we know from what we can infer. If you want a complete breakdown of the lore we know so far, with all of the factions and history, then be sure to check out the video I did on that topic in the top right. Lastly, if you, like me, are excited for Starfield, then be sure to hit that subscribe button for future breakdowns of lore, and the bell icon to be noted as soon as possible when these videos go up. Now, let's learn about the most influential power in the settled systems. While it's unknown exactly when the United Colonies was founded, I speculate that Constellation was the forerunner to the UC. As we know, Constellation was founded around 2188, and is likely the first group of humans to chart what is known today as the settled systems. Once these systems were explored, people began to colonize these worlds, and once these colonies became more self-sustaining, they would eventually need a centralized government. So it's likely that the UC was simply the natural end of the colonization phase, a government to ensure access to needed supplies and keep the peace. We can also guess the age of the UC by looking at Vasco, one of the main companions from the game. Vasco was created by Lunar Robotics, a reference to Earth's moon Luna, and is called an early model that was refurbished to meet the requirements of Constellation. Coupled with the knowledge that the headquarters of the UC isn't the Sol system, we can guess that humanity in the Starfield universe may no longer be able to live in the solar system, or at least the settled systems are distinct from those who still control Sol. The capital itself also resides in the closest star system to Sol, about 4.37 light-years away. So what is now the capital of the UC was likely the first settlement of humanity beyond the solar system. All of this adds up to the UC being fairly old and well established by the start of the game, 2330, and possibly the second oldest faction in the universe. What we do know is that the United Colonies is a melting pot of all cultures and creeds. Their capital, New Atlantis on the planet of Jemison in the Alpha Centauri system, is an example of this, as it is incredibly diverse and what many in the settled system see as the ideal society. It seems to be a beacon for multiculturalism and a symbol of tolerance and acceptance. However, just because the United Colonies are a welcome government doesn't mean they don't have teeth. UC SysDef seems to be the most formidable fighting force in the settled systems. Dedicated to maintaining order, this group of soldiers is highly trained, organized, and prepared. Beyond pure military power, the UC also seems to have radial groups who work with SysDef to help their cause. The Military, Administrative, and Scientific Triumvirate, also known as MAST, seems to be an overarching organization for the UC, perhaps the bureaucratic wing of the military, who are involved with a group called the Vanguard. While MAST and Vanguard are confirmed, we don't really know about their relationship with the UC, other than that they seem to liaison together when dealing with pirate activity. This is my assumption, but I believe that Vanguard is either an elite military special operations force, a frontier police, or a private military company on contract with the UC. All of this should show just how capable the UC is as a government. They have the control, the technology, and the logistics to maintain their power in the settled systems. However, the one thing they may lack is collective will. While everything seems to point to the idea that the UC is a democratic government, they may also rule with a heavy hand. The biggest evidence for this is the Colony Wars. This took place in 2310 between the UC and the Freestar Collective. Again, there isn't much to go on at the moment, but it isn't too difficult to see that this conflict was about self-determination. The Freestar Collective is small and remote, making up a handful of systems, with its capital requiring walls to keep out dangerous wildlife, thus not very developed. This is in stark contrast to the idyllic openness of New Atlantis. It also seems they are more like a loose confederacy or alliance rather than a proper government, meaning the FC might not have as much control over individual settlements or planets as the UC has. So it isn't too outrageous to think that the Freestar Collective was either a part of the UC, formed in response to UC expansion to keep their independence, or a rival growing state. No matter what, it seems that the UC's central authority rubs the more decentralized Freestar Collective the wrong way. While the colony wars have ended, there remains an uneasy peace between the two powers, showing that not everyone wants to live in the melting pot of humanity. However, both also recognize the growing power of the pirate confederacy of the Crimson Fleet, who threaten UC and Freestar systems alike. Thus, the peace might only be due to a mutual enemy. It's not hard to guess that the government as large as the UC might have a fair share of corruption and vice just under the surface. For a prime example is the city of Neon. We know that the Xenofresh Corporation runs a city of vice called Neon, where they peddle an illegal psychotropic drug known as Aurora. While it wouldn't be out of the power of the UC to put a stop to this unique drug that comes only from the oceans around Neon, they don't, allowing it to continue to prosper outside their jurisdiction. However, we know that Constellation calls the UC home, with their headquarters in the capital city of New Atlantis. So they are stable and fair enough for the oldest organization in the systems to trust them with their main central command. So while there may be trouble in paradise, things seem more good than bad in the United Colonies. In conclusion, the United Colonies are the most powerful force in the settled systems, second only to the Freestar Collective and the Crimson Fleet. Their power comes from their open minds and powerful central control, but they aren't immune to the rot any government can grow when left unchecked. Still, they are a large and seemingly peaceful-minded group who bring stability and order to their part of the Milky Way. The question is, are they worthy of your trust or suspicion? In the end, you may be the deciding factor in the future of the UC and its people, in your quest to discover parts of the artifact and discern its mysteries. That is what we know about the United Colonies. I want to thank you for watching, and I want to thank those on screen now who support me on Patreon. Your support allows me to focus on these videos, so I can't thank you enough to allow me to tell the stories of these various sci-fi properties. If you enjoyed the video and haven't already, remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up to date on the future videos of the Starfield universe. For now, I want to know what you think of the United Colonies. Do they sound like your kind of government, or are they too controlling for your liking? Let me know your answers and more in the comments below. And until next time, remember, ex Historia ad Astra.